You're spending quality time with Mick.
Hey there, how's it going? How's your day shaping up? What's new? Feeling good? I bet you are. You got this. Whatever today throws at you, I know you're ready to crush it. I'm Mick Danzig, and this is Quality Time with Mick, your go-to pause for fresh takes on life, business, and culture. Before we jump into the pop culture portion of the podcast, and Keri from Bubbler swings by, let's talk about the excitement in the air. Not only is Wimbledon underway, but as the United States approaches its 250th birthday, it's also battling its most divisive era since the Civil War. But one thing the country can rally around is the U.S. men's soccer team and their inspiring performance in the World Cup. Not only did they make it to the knockout stage, they defeated Bosnia and Herzegovina, winning their first knockout game in 24 years, and they did it like true warriors. After Balogun, their leading scorer, was hit with a questionable red card, forcing them to play a man down for about 30 minutes, they dug deep, played with heart, and held on, adding a second goal, exiting the stadium bloody but proud. Congratulations on your inspiring performance, gentlemen. Your timing could not be more exceptional.
Real talk.
And now I must get something off my chest. I've got a rant today. I have become incredibly frustrated with this trend of critics and social media deciding whether a movie is going to succeed or fail before filming has even wrapped. The latest victim, Supergirl. Before most people had seen a single frame of the movie, the internet had already written its obituary. It's going to flop. James Gunn has ruined DC. Nobody wants this. And then something funny happened. People actually watched it. Now here's where things get interesting. Critics laid it somewhere around a 56 to 58% rating. Audiences? More like 75 to 77. That's a pretty significant gap. Critics complained that the script was flat or derivative. Meanwhile, audiences were praising Millie Alcock's performance. And some people even liked Jason Momoa's Lobo and the emotional core of the story. So here's the obvious question. If audiences generally liked it, why isn't it selling more tickets? Well, I think there's a couple of reasons. First, people were told for months that the movie wasn't worth seeing. Negative headlines create negative expectations. Second, and this is probably a bigger factor, people have been conditioned to wait. Superman hit Max pretty quickly in preparation for the launch of Peacemaker Season 2, so the studios weren't thrilled, and it probably cut into its box office performance as well. So there's a lot of moviegoers probably just shrugged, and they said, why spend $50 to $100 taking the family to the film when it'll be streaming in a few months? That's a real problem for theaters, but we already know that. But there's another conversation we need to have. Let's look at the actual performance. Did Millie Alcock do Supergirl justice? Well, first let's talk about the casting backlash, because if you've been around superhero movies long enough, you've seen the movie before. When Michael Keaton was cast as Batman in 1988, Warner Brothers received more than 50,000 protest letters. That was pre-email, boys and girls. Think of how passionate you have to feel about something to sit down and write a protest letter. Now, people consider him one of the greatest Batmen ever. And then came Ben Affleck. The internet absolutely roasted that casting announcement. Fast forward a few years, many of those same critics admitted he was one of the strongest parts of the Snyder era. History keeps repeating itself. And then there's Millie Alcock. She has openly admitted that she almost talked herself out of taking the role. After finding fame in all things dragon, she became the target of online abuse. She even talked about how reading comments sometimes reinforced her own insecurities. Imagine that. Complete strangers convincing you that you're not good enough before you even had a chance to prove yourself. Thankfully, she ignored the noise. She looked in the mirror as she asked herself, who am I to turn down this opportunity? Then she decided to do something that more people should do. She went for it. And thank goodness she did, because she absolutely crushed it. Not only did she do Supergirl justice, I can't imagine anyone else playing this version of the character. She didn't just play Supergirl, she owned it. So is James Gunn really the problem? Let's talk James Gunn. Yes, there's been a very loud backlash ever since James Gunn and Peter Safran took over DC Studios. A lot of that frustration came from Henry Cavill no longer returning as Superman. I understand it. I like Zack Snyder a lot. 300 completely redefined how action films could look. He gave us Henry Cavill's larger-than-life Superman. And after the theatrical version of Justice League became, well, whatever that was, when he was forced to leave and deal with the family tragedy and Joss Whedon decided to marvel it up and make it more humorous, Snyder finally got to restore his original vision with Zack Snyder's Justice League. It was a 4-hour love letter to comic book fans. But here's the thing. Even great directors have weaknesses. Judd Apatow has never met a comedy that couldn't be 25 minutes shorter. And Zack Snyder, well, I'm convinced he has a physical allergy to cutting scenes. I wanted to love Rebel Moon. I really did. I think his original Star Wars concept sounds fascinating. But having an incredible visual eye doesn't automatically translate into a great theatrical experience. Sometimes, less really is more. So I saw Supergirl. I actually went to a sneak screening the day before it was released. My review of Supergirl. One of the things I appreciated most about Supergirl is that it trusted its own story. It wasn't buried under endless Easter eggs. It wasn't constantly stopping to tease 3 future movies, 4 streaming series, and a cameo that wouldn't pay off until 2029. Marvel has struggled with that for years. Ryan Reynolds even fought to keep Deadpool from becoming a 2-hour commercial for future Marvel projects. Thankfully, Supergirl avoids that trap. It focuses on one story, one character, one emotional journey. The film actually reminds me more of Guardians of the Galaxy than Superman. Our hero is dealing with trauma instead of optimism. The darker color palette, filled with browns, grays, and muted tones, perfectly reflects the emotional weight while creating a clear visual contrast from Superman's brighter world. At the same time, the humor keeps everything from becoming emotionally exhausting. And the action? Some of the quickest, most intense, most kinetic action sequences I've seen in a superhero movie in quite a while. The movie never feels like it's standing still. So what are my final thoughts? Well, here's my concern. I think critics, and frankly a portion of the online fan community, have done this movie a real disservice. Not because everyone has to love it, they don't. But because we've created a culture where movies are declared failures before audiences even have a chance to make up their own minds. And if we keep doing this, if every actor gets attacked, if every director gets sabotaged, if every creative decision becomes another internet civil war, we are going to implode the superhero genre ourselves. Not because audiences stop caring, because the people making these movies eventually won't think they're worth making. And if that happens, well, I guess we'll be dusting off our old CW Arrowverse box sets, trading billion-dollar CGI spectacles for 1999 tights, and those glorious Ben Cooper plastic Halloween masks. Congratulations, Internet. You won. All right, Keri, so we recently discussed the growing popularity of pickleball. If pickleball become a top televised sport, what current pro sport should be eliminated from television to make room for pickleball viewership?
I immediately came to mind, but then I have another one, but it has to be cornhole.
Is cornhole televised? No,
Yes, it's everywhere.
major televised. I'm
Yeah,
talking the
it
big no.
is.
No,
It
no, no.
is. It
Regional
is. N
television, no horseshit. No,
It
if it
is.
well, so is fucking fishing, but I mean, like, NFL, NBA,
You did not
soccer,
specify.
baseball.
You did
Yeah,
not specify.
I
And everybody
specifically said what current major pro sport
it is a
should
pro sport.
but it's major pro that you have to
You
it's on
have
TV so
offended
much.
I can't
Oh
believe
my
you
god.
offended the entire cornhole community. I can't
Oh,
even believe this.
the innuendos have not stopped since the actual pickleball episode that you even want to tie in cornhole. Let's just stop.
I am telling you right now, it
Okay,
is a
so of
major.
any of the competitive sports that you go from high school to college to pros playing that is currently televised, which one of those are you going to pull off the air
Ah,
to make room for televised pickleball?
I don't know. That came to I guess it would have to be candlepin bowling. Just kidding. I can't
Let me change the question because I didn't realize we were short busing it today. But no,
Alright.
I
Yeah.
no,
Mhm.
no. So let me rephrase the question. If pickleball were to grow to be a top televised sport, what current pro sport should be eliminated from television to make room for pickleball? And why should it be Major League Baseball? So
Oh my god. Okay, well, that is
So
fair.
let
That's
me just
fair.
so
Actually,
let
it's
me
not that
tell you is you're now excluded from this conversation, and let me tell you why it should be baseball. Let's be honest. Baseball attendance was on the decline late 2009 to 2019, so completely collapsed during the pandemic. But here's what's really crazy is attendance has improved for Major League Baseball. Now, take into consideration how many fucking games they have a season, right, Keri? They
no.
exceeded 71 million fans last season. So that's pretty impressive. But here's what's crazy. As far as television goes, baseball is just not cutting it. Early 2000s was a boom, long-term decline through the mid 2000s into the 2020s. And now it's really, even though it started to rebound, it is more regional. So if you think about it, like early, like our childhood, baseball was actually televised regionally. The Atlanta Braves were on TNT and TBS. The Chicago Cubs were on WGN. So I think that that's where baseball still does well is they do have the local fans. But I mean, if you live in Tacoma, Washington, do you really care about the Cubs Marlins game?
No,
No.
and honestly, I think the fact that the Red Sox finally won in the early 2000s, the Cubs end up winning. I think I'm not insinuating that that was planned, but I'm just saying it definitely came along at a time where viewership was significantly lower. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably where you see those pockets of attendance going up a little bit. I will say baseball is fun to watch when you go to a
In
baseball game.
person,
Correct.
100%. I could tell you some of the great stories, in my early crazy days of shenanigans where I had so much fun at the ballparks, Wrigley Field. I love minor league baseball on a good sunny day. Now, if it's a crappy day out, forget it. But if it's a nice day and your seats are somewhere where you can sit out and get some sun, it's an absolute blast. And I was actually even in your neck of the woods many moons ago. The Rangers Park was fairly new, and it was such a big deal. It had a Fridays in it. I actually got a bar fight there. It was
Of course you did.
it was a company outing. Someone was being rude to someone, and then they did the bump thing where they purposely bump into you, puffing their chest out. And I called someone on it. I think I said something about their mother, probably. I don't remember, but
Oh, a good mother joke. I love it.
they came back to the table, wound up to swing on me, and I ducked, and they actually connected with our recruiting coordinator. This poor girl
Oh,
got
I think I do
punched.
remember the story.
Yeah,
Really.
it was all horrible. But at the end of the day, that person got in trouble. They got
But think
arrested,
about it,
everything.
though. What if that had been televised? You know? I mean, that may have been more exciting than the
Oh,
baseball
I
game.
guarantee everything that's taken place inside the baseball stadiums when I've been involved have been a hell of a lot more entertaining than the games themselves. So absolutely. So this was all a big diatribe and a ruse because let me tell you what I really hate about Major League Baseball right now.
Wow, you
So
really are coming for it.
most of the entertaining things that have taken place inside a ballpark while I was there was the shenanigans and the fun and right, and the good stuff, the getting the crowd to do the wave and goofing off and just having a good time. So there's this new craze, actually, I believe started in St. Louis, and it's a new trend called tarps off. And what it is large groups of mostly male fans have begun gathering in designated or organically formed stadium sections, taking off their shirts, waving them overhead, chanting, and acting like European soccer supporter sections versus traditional baseball crowds. So these guys, the fans are trying to make the sport more exciting and fun, and the trend has kind of exploded over the last couple of weeks, starting with the Cardinals game at Busch Stadium. Players from Stephen F. Austin State University's baseball team that started the trend, supposedly. And then we've seen it at Giants games, Mariners games, Tigers, the Tampa Bay Rays. I forgot Tampa Bay had a baseball team. So there you
Oh
go. It
my
just made me
gosh.
aware of a team. And of course, the Los Angeles Angels. And that's another reason I used to live by Anaheim. I used to go to
So
Angels
much
games.
hate.
And when they changed their names, they're in Anaheim. Guess where Anaheim is? Orange County.
Uh-huh.
They thought they could sell more merch by becoming the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So that's
Mm.
a dickhead move. You're not in LA. You just said screw you to the fans. So yet another example
Wow.
of baseball. And sometimes I think they could eat a bag of dicks. But here's the thing. So you
Or
have
pickles.
fans
Or
or
pickles.
pickles. And so you have these fans that are creating this momentum. And then you've got the friggin' Major League Baseball going, oh, I don't know if this is a good thing. It's bad. It could be bad for baseball. It's rowdiness. What if it's alcohol fueled and all this stuff? In Anaheim, Los Angeles Angel fans turned the shirtless sections into sell the team protests aimed at the owner. So there ties in my little diatribe about them calling themselves the Los Angeles Angels. But here's the thing. I think it's a great idea. I know where the fear comes from of this rowdiness. And I don't know if you remember this. You and I were toddlers. But there's a famous riot night that took place. It was June 4th, 1974, at the Cleveland Municipal Stadium during a game between the Indians and the Texas Rangers. Some genius, God bless him or her, came up with the idea. I'm going to go with the him because of this idea
Okay.
of 10-cent beers to boost attendance. So in
Oh, no.
1974, fans could buy 6 beers per purchase with
Ugh.
no overall limit at 10 cents a pop. So about 25,000 fans showed up, roughly double the normal crowd. They consumed 60,000 beers.
Oh my
There were
god.
streakers, fireworks, thrown objects, fights, and repeated fan incursions onto the field. Tensions were already high because the Indians and Rangers had been involved in a heated brawl a few days earlier. And then the breaking point came in the ninth inning when a fan ran onto the field and tried to grab the cap of Texas outfielder Jeff Burrows. Rangers players charged onto the field, some reportedly grabbing bats for protection. So, first off, if you're charging onto the field, why do you need a bat for protection? Go to your locker room, you jackass. But anyway, hundreds of intoxicated fans followed, creating a full-scale riot.
Oh my
And in a
god.
surreal twist, Cleveland players joined the Rangers to defend against the crowd. So
Okay.
ultimately, the game was forfeited to Texas because the field was no longer safe, and 10-cent beer night remains a cautionary tale in sports marketing. Essentially, cheap, nearly unlimited beer plus existing rivalry plus adequate security equals baseball chaos. And that, my friends, is why pickleball is the future and baseball is on the way out. Keri, always a pleasure not letting you get a word in. Blindside.